Very interesting because fabric is used in a lot of different products, and like this product. And when you have a more expensive material that you're going to use, you don't want to waste that with product testing. Hey, it's Don Skaggs again with Empowered Inventing, where if we can get you to behave like a successful inventor, a successful entrepreneur, or successful small business, guess what? Then you have a higher likelihood of becoming a successful inventor, entrepreneur, or small business. So, now today I want to talk to you about a little bit about prototyping, and you know, I've covered this a lot, but this was a kind of an interesting take on this, and that was I was having a conversation actually in one of the businesses I work with, actually this one here, Active Therapy Systems, who so graciously lets me use their business as a backdrop. You kind of get to see some of the goings on back over my shoulder, and if you've watched a lot of the videos, you actually kind of get to see the evolution of some of the things behind me and what they're doing. And a few videos back, I know we even had a prototype in the background, so it was pretty cool. But anyway, one of the components of the product that they use at Active Therapy System, it's a 5-punch pad system, but it is a fabric. So there's a fabric component to this product. Now, so they had contracted a master seamstress, and she was in here, and I got to talking to her one day, and she was telling me about muslin. She had this material out called muslin, and I asked her, I said, now what is that? Because I know very, very little about sewing and products like that. And so I got to learn about this really, really cool material called muslin, and she actually gave me a piece of it so I could use it in this video, which is kind of cool. But it just looks like a cheap piece of fabric, and it's you know, it's different sizes you can use. It's kind of it's not real smooth, but it's kind of an off-white. It's kind of got a speckled look in it. So, and if you know sewing, you know all this. But if you're not familiar with it, like I wasn't, then it's kind of an interesting thing. But the most interesting thing about this material right here is that it's been called the world's oldest fabric. It's used primarily for sewing patterns. It's used for backing, sometimes lining for quilts. I've heard of that use for it. But its primary use is for making test garments before the more expensive material is used, and that's exactly what the seamstress here was doing. You know, we had a very expensive, high-grade material that we were wanting to use for the product, and that material had a certain function. But to test it first, to test the pattern, to make sure we were getting it right, we didn't use that really, really expensive material. No, we used this stuff right here. They used muslin material. So it's called the world's oldest fabric, and I just thought that was interesting. Actually, a written record of its existence goes back to the 13th century, if you will. So this piece of fabric, I think it's a good bit newer than that. But anyway, I just thought that was very interesting, and it's very interesting because fabric is used in a lot of different products, and like this product. And when you have a more expensive material that you're going to use, you don't want to waste that with product testing. And this goes right back to what I talk about when I talk about the Frankentype. And if you've been to any of the classes, if you've listened to any of the videos, we talk a lot about the Frankentype, because we talk about prototypes in two different categories. You know, you talk about prototyping, and you think of prototyping and you think that's just one thing, but it's not. It's actually two things. There's two pieces to a prototype, and the first piece of it is what I call a Frankentype. And you can make a Frankentype from almost anything. A Frankentype, have you ever seen a Rube Goldberg machine? Where they've just took junk parts and just pasted them all together to do a certain thing and roll a ball and do these actions, and you know, starts in one room and it ends up in this other place, but one action just goes and does this all the way to the other action. Well, the materials they use for that is a lot like what I'd call a Frankentype. You're testing, you're failing, maybe it's working, maybe it's not, you're testing it again. You want this to all be on the cheap. So a Frankentype is going to tell you if the product is going to work. Frankentype tells you whether it's going to work. A demo type, and that's the second stage of the prototype, as the demo type, is where you're showing it to other people and showing them how it works. That's the prettied up version. That's where maybe you're spending a little more money. But the big part of the test fail, the big part of the, wow, I didn't realize it was going to do that, or I didn't realize it wasn't going to do that, that you want that with, you want that with this muslin material here. You want that with this stuff. You want to use the cheap stuff to get through that. Now, don't buy the most expensive material to do a test that has a high risk of failure. I can't say this enough. I've seen this. I've seen inventors and entrepreneurs mess up where they'll spend all their money thinking they've got it right on the first try, and they don't have it right until the 27th try, and they've spent lots and lots of money when they could have been using a version of this right here. So the demo type is going to show other people how it works. That's where you use the nicer stuff. The Frankentype is this stuff right here. It's the muslin of the world. So how do you find your own version of muslin? How do you find this? Well, there's a lot of different places. Junkyards. You know, I always say with the Frankentype, you've snuck out to the graveyard of broken products and spare parts. You've used glue sticks and duct tape, and the result is a prototype that only an inventor could love. But you've taken that first important step in prototyping the right way. You've built it, you've proven that it works, and you haven't spent a lot of money. Now, so junkyards are a good place. Places where maybe there's broken products. Maybe places, you know, sometimes you can even go into the thrift stores and find, if you find the right thing, if you find the piece that you're looking for, the product you're looking for. You know, products that are already made, maybe they're old, maybe they're broken, but you can use them to build your Frankentype. And don't forget the duct tape. Duct tape is the inventor's friend, prototyper's friend. You can do a lot of stuff with that. Again, nobody's going to see it but you. You're testing it for function. So you're not using, you're using a low amount of cash, but you are taking maybe a little more time, maybe a little more effort, more focus, and more diligence. It's harder to do it this way, but you're spending less money. And that's important because you're going to need that money later for the demo type and for the marketing and for a lot of other pieces that are just as important, if not more, than the early prototyping part or the Frankentype part. So, and the other good thing about this is you're using less cash, and that's all well and good. But the fact that you are more focused and more elbow deep in this, making it this way, it's going to teach you things on a much, much better level than it is if you're just throwing a bunch of money at somebody and saying, hey, make me a prototype. So anyway, I hope these are helpful for you. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing TV. Be sure and like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online classes, or on the next video.